Today, I have to ask you some serious questions. Do you enjoy coasting along in your gas-guzzling 18-wheeler? Do you live for the sensation of the sun blasting you through your windshield while you suck down another $1 hot dog? Does your soul yearn to be behind the wheel driving down the great American roadways? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then partner, let me tell you, I've got the game for you. Clustertruck is a game which is exactly what it looks like. The premise is incredibly simple. Jump across the trucks and get to the finish line. That might sound like it's going to get really repetitive really fast, but the game throws a whole bunch of shit at you to keep you on your toes. First of all, we have to talk about the trucks themselves, because in a typical platforming game, most of the platforms are not fucking moving. When things get difficult, you could try jumping off the trucks and running alongside them, but I wouldn't recommend it. You see, this is a floor is lava style video game, where if you touch anything other than the trucks, you are immediately going to die. There are some exceptions to this rule which tend to be quite funny, but most of the time it's just you and the trucks, which by the way are being driven by inebriated troglodytes. They're going to constantly crash into each other and the terrain around them, causing them to spiral out of control, drive out from under you as soon as you try to land on them, and occasionally one of the drivers is going to experience the call of the void, where they turn the wheel and immediately drive straight into the abyss. Don't worry though, because most of the time the trucks are the least of your problems. You've got to contend with giant fucking boulders, flamethrowers, wooden spinning gears, laser beams, battering rams, metal spinning gears, molten lava, swinging hammers, blocks of ice, waves of fire, massive turbines, rocket launchers, and of course, Satan himself. That's right, the final level of this game is a battle in hell against a truck demon lord, much like other good JRPGs. When I found out about this, I lost my fucking mind. You have to jump up his body, which is covered in trucks, hit a button on top of his head, and then land back down at the start and do it all again. I've also never completed this level. Well, never completed it in the intended way. One time I hit the button at a weird angle when I thought I was gonna die, but instead this happened. Oh, I guess I fucking won. All of this might make it sound like the game is quite difficult, and at times it can definitely feel that way, but don't worry, there are some tricks you can use to even the playing field. First of all, colliding with the side or back of a truck doesn't just cause you to slide down it and die immediately. You can kick back off of it and reposition yourself, or if you do it just right, you can launch yourself upward and get over a bunch of annoying bullshit all over the ground. You also don't need to land firmly on top of a truck in order for your jump to reset. Just grazing past one should be enough to do it as long as you made contact. Another tip I'm going to give you for this game, as surprising as it might sound, is that sometimes less is more. You may be on the back of a truck which is naturally going to get to the finish line on its own, and by trying to speed off ahead of it, all you're doing is finding out the sweet aromatic taste of concrete. But I gotta be honest, these tips pale in comparison to just using your abilities well. Abilities are one of the most fun parts of this game. You can unlock more of them the more you play, and they significantly alter the experience. There are two types of abilities in the game: movement abilities, which help you move, and utility abilities, which do really weird, interesting shit. Oh, and you can only use one of each at any given point in time. Let's start with the movement abilities. First of all, double jump. Now I've got to be honest with you, this is not a strong start. Unlike most of the abilities in the game which have their own cooldowns represented by these bars in the middle of the screen, double jump resets as soon as you touch back down onto solid ground, or solid truck, I guess? This is how it tends to work in any game that has a double jump, but the problem with this is that the second jump is kind of shit. It feels less like a double jump and more like a jump 1.1, especially when you compare it to some of the other abilities you can pick from, such as the air dash. Now this ability is really good. You can dash in any direction, and the range on it I think is pretty generous. It takes a while to cool back down, but even with that downside, I'd still say this is one of your best picks, especially if you're new to the game. It's definitely an ability that shines once you familiarize yourself with the levels and the game's physics, which can also be said about the jetpack. Similar to the air dash, this one also lets you clear a bunch of terrain with relative ease, and it's pretty good at doing it. The interesting thing about this one is you don't have to use the entire ability in one go. You can let out short bursts of it in order to let yourself get a little bit of height, or you can blow the entire fuel tank to shoot yourself much higher up. The other thing I like about the jetpack is that, in my opinion, it's a lot better than its sister ability, levitation. I don't think that this one is terrible, it's just not that exciting or fun to use. You float in the air for a few seconds in a much more steady fashion than the jetpack, but you can't really use it to go around or over terrain, and it also has the longest cooldown in the game. Seriously, a lot of the time you're only going to be able to use it once per level, which is just, you know, My personal recommendation for if you want to use levitation is don't. Instead, consider using the grappling hook. Now this one is one of my favorites, and it's also what I'm using in like 90% of my footage. You can grapple onto the trucks, onto the terrain, really whatever you're feeling like. It's got a decent range, a low cooldown, and if you use it right, there's a bunch of levels where you can go off the beaten path entirely. Take this level for instance. If you wanted to, you could jump down these trucks and gradually get to the end like a virgin bitch, or you could grapple straight out of the level, fall down into the abyss, grapple back onto this pillar and land on the trucks right at the end of the level before they've even started moving. Another example is this level where the devs covered the goal in a big wooden ceiling to prevent you from just jumping straight down onto it, but I'm going to jump straight down onto it anyway. Grappling hook is a 10 out of 10 ability. Now let's move on to the next one. Truck boost. This one causes whichever truck you're stood on top of to blast forward with a massive surge of speed. It's got quite a long cooldown and it doesn't really have that many good uses in my opinion, but it is still very fun to use when it works. The one warning I will give you though is never use it on the laser levels. All of these trucks are tailgating each other really hard, so sometimes when you press it, this happens. Anyway, moving on, next ability up is Disrespected Blink. This ability fucking sucks. And finally, for movement abilities, Trucker Flip. There's really no other way to say this. With Trucker Flip, every time you jump on a truck, you kickflip it.
Do a kickflip!
This is the most unhinged ability in this game. It happens with every single jump and you can't disable it mid-run, which means the trucks beneath you are going to get fucked up really quickly. I definitely think that this ability has the most skill requirement to it, but when you make it work, there is no other feeling like it. That wraps up the movement abilities. Now let me tell you about the utility abilities. Time slow. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It slows down time. You can use this to consider all of the terrible choices you've made right before you inevitably slam into the ground beneath you. I don't use this one very often because I'm too busy using portable truck. Now this one is super practical. You launch a projectile out in front of yourself and wherever it lands it spawns a stationary truck at that spot. This is the utility move that I've gotten the most use out of. It's really practical to have it around for if you accidentally fuck up, and when you start combining it with moves like Trucker Flip, then suddenly you're really playing. This ability is kind of awkward. It lets you teleport back on top of whichever truck you were last stood on, and if you're already standing on a truck it just kind of teleports you on the spot and you don't go anywhere. I'm sure that there are some edge cases where you would want to use this ability, but personally I never use it and I wouldn't really recommend that you do so either. Truck Salute 0. Fun fact about this ability, it's actually inspired by a character from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Season 3 Stardust Crusaders Part 2 Battle in Egypt and Knuckles. Fucking pet shop. As the name implies, when activated this ability causes every truck on the level to immediately freeze in place until either the ability runs out or you choose to stop using it. My personal favourite way to use this ability is in tiny little bursts when the trucks are just too far away for you to catch up before hitting the ground. However, quick word of warning, if you use this ability while you're stood on top of a truck, you're immediately going to fly off of it and crack your fucking skull open. As a result, I recommend only using it when you're airborne. Epic mode. This one is hard to describe. I think I just have to give you a visual and audio demonstration. That's right, this ability turns the game into a fucking cinematic trailer. While it's active, any style points you get are doubled, and when you stick a landing, it makes the sound. Oh, I never explained style points, did I? Style points are obtained by doing cool shit in the game, like parkouring off of airborne trucks or just beating the levels quickly, and they're also the currency you use to buy these abilities. Speaking of abilities, there's one more we have to talk about.
Super truck, super truck, super truck, super truck, super truck.
The game even has a map editor, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I have no fucking idea how to use it. Have a look at my custom patented level. Can you tell what's going on? Because I sure as hell can't. In summary, this game is absolutely fantastic, and whoever came up with the idea should probably be kept under constant surveillance. You've got 100 levels to sink your teeth into, 90 in the campaign, and 10 more that they did for Halloween. The soundtrack is also incredible. There is not a single note, not a single beat which doesn't sound amazing. And best of all, because it's not some AAA garbage, you can can buy it for less than an arm and a leg. Keeping all of this in mind, I think it's only fair that I give Clustertruck my highest and lowest review score. 1 out of 1. This is your reminder that review scores are reductionist garbage and you shouldn't care about them. Also, I want to start making shorter, simpler videos like this one because the WoW videos take a while to make and I like uploading more frequently, so if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know. As always, a big shout out to all of you little gremlins who comment on my videos. I read and appreciate every single one of them. Thanks for watching the fucking video, and I'll be seeing you in whatever the hell I make next.